This isn't our first time all three together. We were all three of us last week, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So we'll start with this story because Peter's
four of us.
prediction that is almost certainly going to come true, the four of us, is that the auto industry basically is going to be destroyed by hackers. Maybe is already happening. Let's take a look.
Okay, this is an article from a guy called Sam Curry, or actually sort of a meta article. It's a collection of bits of research that they did since last year, him and his friends, about like some attempts they did to look for vulnerabilities in cars and their apps and associated things, and they found so much. It's crazy. Just so many different car makers, Nissan, Toyota, BMW, Ferrari, and the kinds of things that they found are not complicated attacks. These are like, so there's a thing called OWASP, which is like an open web application security thing, and they published a top 10 of like the most common web vulnerabilities, and it's SQL injection, cross-site scripting, really basic stuff that everybody's known about for 20 years. And all of these things are basically that kind of thing. They're not super complicated. And they're clever guys. They found a lot. But, it's not some sort of arcane protocol hack or something like this. Yeah. And sorry to keep ranting here a little bit, but like the stuff that they found is taking over entire cars and root access to admin systems, which lets them, give discounts, take over showrooms. It's
Account takeovers to SSO accounts so that they have access to all the other applications of all employees. Absurd, obscene, and absurd.
Yeah, come on, guys. You can do better than this.
So Peter won a virtual pizza within what?
Yeah, not
2
virtual.
weeks?
I want a real pizza.
It was
Anyway,
a prediction.
virtual.
Is not
it was
a
a digital. It was a digital pizza.
prediction. Is not a bad.
How about an NFT pizza?
Oh my
What of
god!
a kind.
Now you're really insulting me. Okay.
So I think what's interesting is that no car maker is spared here. Like we're seeing some of the most luxurious or fancy or whatever you want to call it, Porsche, Ferrari on this list. And they have owners. Well, some of them have owners or like parent companies of bigger car companies that, more common ones. So they might share some of the code for some of the systems or some of the like application specific hardware, but still, I guess what I'm getting to is you're paying $300,000, let's say, for a car. Like you expect the Rolls-Royce to have some robust security. And then you realize that it's all a fucking sham. Like everything is a scam. And sure, it might drive super nice and it might have all this prestige, but it can still be taken over by a hacker potentially super easily. Very scary.
The first thing that crossed my mind when I read this was like, if they had been bad guys, they would have, like the car industry would have just melted down like everywhere. Like they could have, I don't know, they could have ransomed many cars across the world. They could have taken over cars and.
Statistically speaking, they've probably already been compromised.
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenges to me winning a pizza this year, because I think it might be that there's a massive vulnerability that comes out that they just pay the ransom for and don't tell anyone about. Like,
taking that risk of not telling anyone, that's a business risk, right? You get to sit in a boardroom and say, do we keep this quiet? And if everyone agrees to keep it quiet, those executives and leadership have agreed to take on that risk.
Yeah. At a certain level, the ransom is like a marketing cost. It's avoiding bad press. So
exactly.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike? You've been quiet today.
I,
Are you all right with you with us?
I was
Worried about your car?
gonna comment earlier that scrolling through the list of cars that were compromised is almost like scrolling through the list of Facebook violations that we did once, where it just keeps going and going and
love
going
Facebook
and going.
controversies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel completely unsurprised by this because I've done work in the auto industry and in the trucking industry, and these systems are nothing but wrappers for AS400 systems that are a billion years old that were never designed to even be networked, and they're vulnerable for sure, no question.
Yeah, I guess I think a typical example is, well, are you surprised? And on one level, no, because they're car makers and not web application security experts. But come on, this is not like difficult stuff. That people have figured out how to solve these problems. And it's really easy.
All these systems were created and put in place before the internet even existed. And just like had stuff bolted onto them as new functionality became available, but the root systems.
That's a problem. But that's a problem. It's what you just reminded me of is the FAA just had to ground all domestic flights in the United States. All domestic flights had to be grounded because of a system glitch. Most likely, like some old server somewhere, fucking shouldn't have been running, and it was. And it's like that kind of legacy stuff where you keep kicking the tin can down the road to the next block, and one day that thing is gonna fucking explode. And that's exactly what we're seeing now, and we're gonna keep seeing it. Of course, it's just the way the world is, but it's not an excuse to not shame or express. I guess it's the word I'm looking for here, like shock. You expect these death machines, because cars at the end of the day, they are death machines. Yeah. I would expect them to have some level of security. Maybe, is that on me? Am I in the wrong here for expecting a car that can travel 100 plus miles per hour? A metal box that can travel 100 plus mile per hour? Blah, blah, blah.
So it's kind of like, do you remember the Starlink hack that was revealed at Black Hat?
Mm-hmm.
That was fairly complex, and the guy started looking at the Starlink devices as black boxes. He didn't have any documentation or anything with dev kit, and then what he figured out was pretty complex and pretty new and novel. I mean, he used techniques that he'd learned and stuff, but that is the kind of stuff that I was thinking about when I made a prediction that there's going to be a ransomware event this year. Not like SQL injection attacks with inserting a comma and if you don't know what I'm talking
trailing
about,
dash,
trivial
or trailing slash. I mean,
ways to execute arbitrary SQL. It's
no, but the Starlink hack was like very impressive because I believe he was dumping like live data off of, like he was hijacking I don't remember exactly, but it was like hardware plus software. Like this guy was intercepting data while the Starlink was alive and doing shit. Here, these guys are, like you said, it's like OWASP top 10 recommendations for not getting your fucking WordPress site hacked. And they're like, nope, just going to ignore that.
But
I would not be surprised if some of the cars were running WordPress actually, but sorry, man.
To tie it back to John's comment about the airline thing, though, it's a similar motivation. So the FAA, all government agencies, are run by some appointee who's only going to be there for 2 years. You can't overhaul the entire system in 2 years, so there's never going to be an appetite to do that. These car companies say, hey, we need to be able to get our car inventories online. And some web guy says, but to be able to do it securely, you got to overhaul your entire system. Right. But how do we get it up? Like, I've got to deliver this profits this quarter. I can't spend $1 billion on a problem that hasn't actually cost me anything yet.
I think it's the profits thing, isn't it? It's this works, and nobody's hacked into it yet. One of the examples was as an admin system that they loaded, and their reaction was, that looks like an old style web page. So they tried a SQL injection, and it didn't work because they put a WAF, a web application firewall, in front of it that like detects when attacks are happening and then just bounces them out. They were too advanced. So what they did was they made their attack super simple. They just put a apostrophe and then like a hash sign, and it worked. And then that broke it, and then 2 apostrophes didn't break. So they were like, okay. And it's like, I don't know. It's even beyond like doing an overhaul. It's just
yeah, that's true. Just basic validation.
Yeah, really.
Form validation. That's true. All right, you pull me back to the other side. That is pretty absurd. Probably because it was coded by like a intern in the marketing department. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think that, when they do fix all this stuff has been fixed. But like, there's still going to be tons more, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be loads of other cars that they didn't have a chance to look at. And this is just like 6 or 7 guys that kind of, they got into it because they saw a scooter that they were like, happened to go past. They were like, hey, let's play around with the app. Oh my God, it's honking. Oh, let's try other things. And then they're just fucking around, They're not even trying hard. They just started a Discord server and we're like, hey, let's see what we can find in 3 months.
There's CFOs and CTOs at car manufacturers around the world just rolling their eyes. Fuck.
Yeah.
That's the kind of gray hat shit you gotta just love to see,
Yeah. All right. Do I get one pizza for every major car?
Depends on how many pizzas are we minting.
Don't entertain him. Don't entertain him, John.
Well,
mint the pizza.
Okay,
is that your
right.
position now?
The NFT pizza. All right, vroom vroom.
All right, have a good weekend. We will see everyone on Monday.